Well, hello and welcome to Energy Mastery TV. My name is Nick Hansinger. I'm the president of Energy Mastery, and today we're talking about breaking negative patterns. And I think, a lot of people have had this experience where you know there's something that you want to be doing and something that you want to be accomplishing, and yet time and again we continue to fail or sabotage or stop halfway or just not meet that goal, right? We get stuck in a negative pattern or a negative cycle, and we make it just so far and then can't quite follow it all the way through, and it's like, well, there it goes again. This is the reason why so many of the New Year's resolutions that people make ultimately fail, and they really don't follow through on them. This is the reason why, it's Wednesday, it's peak of the week, right? This is the reason why people can get certain point in their week and then things start to not work again, and then they're back into the same old thing. It's the reason why people can make it just so far towards a goal, and then all of a sudden everything starts to spin out and go sideways, and then they're not seeing through that goal, and it takes them off track. These negative patterns and cycles are really key to unwinding if you want to find your fastest path to whatever that success is for you. Maybe that's just building a business. Maybe it's just doing awesome in your job. Maybe it's a book that you want to write or something that you've really been wanting to pursue. Doesn't matter what that is, but if there's something that you've been telling yourself that you want to accomplish that you keep not doing, this is why you want to check this out. So, I'll start by just telling you a story, because one of the first things that people say is, like, when you see yourself fail a certain number of times at something, you're just like, there's something wrong with me, or I'm just like, whatever is going on with me, it's not going to work. I'm too whatever, my situation is too unique, and there's nothing that I can do to change that, and I guess it just wasn't meant to be. That's a really popular one. So when somebody gets into that cycle, it's like, well, now you're in a really stuck pattern. So let me tell you a story, because we've seen some really interesting cases through Energy Mastery, and some really amazing people come through with this. And one of those in particular, that comes to mind for me is a gentleman who's struggling with some addictive behaviors. And for anybody out there who has either struggled with addiction or been around somebody who's struggled to addiction, then you know how destructive that can be in somebody's life. And this is a very, very intelligent person, a high achiever in their field, and really and truly like a dedicated learner. So you can bet that when this person saw himself in these addictive behaviors, he did everything that he could. He started trying, he would read everything about, addiction and how to stop these behaviors and how to make a change, and like all the personal growth and self-help that he could possibly find. And continued learning and trying everything that he could. And so he'd kind of get to a place of where he could not do that thing for a while, and then it would break. Right? And then you'd be back in the same cycle again and again and again. This is super frustrating. And the reason that it's relevant is because when we started working with the energy, there were two things that we started to adjust. Is number one, is make sure that we deal with the energy, right? That's the first part of the sequence. If you don't clean up what's happening energetically in the human being, well, then there's going to be a resonance there that will continue to play out that behavior. And then secondly is dealing with the mental and emotional patterns that drive and run that behavior. So you have to have both. So if you only have one side of that, you're not dealing with the full puzzle. And secondly is they need to be done in the proper sequence. And this is a place where a lot of people get off track. And so what we really did was just basically use the tools, right, and start to break down, okay, let's deal with the energy first and then deal with the mind, and deal with the energy and deal with the mind, and so that pattern could unwind over time, and it became a really powerful, transformative experience, and now that addiction for this person is a non-factor, right? Going on living a normal life, which is something that everybody told him was absolutely impossible. And what's relevant about this is understanding that whatever that behavior is for you. Like if you're stuck in some kind of negative cycle, you must deal with those two components. If you only deal with the energy, that's great, but the mind and the emotions that are creating that and perpetuating that cycle have not really been dealt with. If you only deal with the mind, try to fix it in your mind, what you'll wind up doing is just basically willing it into existence. And at a certain point, that becomes unsustainable. It'll crop up at a time when you're most vulnerable, or you'll get sucked into a cycle when you least expect it, or you'll simply get tired of constantly trying to will yourself into doing something and lose that will, and then you're back in the same old cycle. So the energy and the mind must be dealt with in order to really fully resolve that pattern. And that's really what this is about. So it could be a big thing for you of, the same resolution that you've been setting for 10 years and you just haven't been able to follow through on that, but you're still on the track. And number one, I just want to say that's awesome. If you're still on the track, good for you, right? Because a lot of people would have given up. So don't stop trying. You're not, this is one of the ways that you're not beyond fixing. You're not some, special snowflake that nothing is ever going to work for you. It's really that you just haven't found the right sequence and the right tools yet, and put it all in the right order in order to really make that transformation last. And it really is a transformation. That's what we're looking at. So, whether it's a really big thing or whether it's those little things and those little places where you start to get off track every daily or weekly or, monthly, you kind of find yourself back at the same cycle, recognize that there's those two components. You have to deal with the energy and you have to deal with the mental and emotional patterns behind it. This is why Energy Mastery is what it is. It's a complete system. So another way that people try to deal with this, we had another client who he thought, okay, I can just do it. I'll do it myself. Like I can figure this out. And so he'd learn this thing and then he'd implement that, and then he'd learn the next thing and he'd implement that. And so he had this whole elaborate system for trying to break these negative cycles and keep himself on track. And he was doing journaling and he's doing meditation and he's doing yoga and exercise and he's doing affirmations and he's doing this, different techniques to work with his energy and all these. And he's spent a lot of time trying to solve this, to keep himself out of this negative behavior. In this same old cycle and all this time, and then sooner or later life would get in the way and he wouldn't be able to take that and then he'd get off track and back to the drawing board again, right? So after all of this effort and all of this information and all of these things that he's doing, back to square one. Why? Because all those different things are not an efficient system. He's working with all these different things, trying to just do this one thing, which is like just keep himself on track to this one specific goal. And it's taken forever, and he's just not. And he's just trying to figure it out and do it himself. And that's, you can certainly do that. That's a long way around there. But at the end of the day, what's really going to serve is to have a system that works, that deals with your energy and deals with the mind and the emotions and keeps everything all in one efficient system that you can do. Because if it's not simple and it takes a ton of time, that just makes it that much easier for you to stop. And it's not doing it all in one big shot. Right? It's really about those small daily decisions that we make that really start to shift these patterns in a much more powerful way. That's how you break negative cycles, is really dealing with the complete system, the energy and the emotions and the mind, to really make sure that all of those things are being cleaned up in tandem to keep you on track and to do it efficiently. Because if you don't have an efficient system for it and it takes too long, you're not going to do it. Or you'll do it for a little while and then you'll stop, right? And that's totally normal. That's of course, that's what happens. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You just don't have the right tools. So that's really what Energy Mastery is for. If that sounds cool to you and you're looking for something like that, all you have to do is, I'm going to pop a little link in the comments below and you can just fill out the form and, we'll set up a time to talk. That's a super easy way to see what next steps might be available to you, and I'd love to help you take that take that next step, whatever that is, or just provide some insight on what it is that's going on so that you can break that negative cycle and create something new for yourself, a really new way of being in your life and creating in your life that's way more congruent with your highest and best, that that highest aspect of you and that highest goal and purpose that you're here to do. So I hope that's helpful for you. My name's Nick, and this is Energy Mastery TV, Peak of the Week. Go have an awesome week, everybody. We'll see you soon. Peace.